Discernment is the practice of distinguishing the voice of God from among the many different voices that vie for our attention, such as the expectation of others, cultural pressures, or even our own inner critic. The root word for discern means to cut away. So discernment is the art of sorting through all these voices and our own tangled motivations and cutting away all those but that are of God. John the Baptist was a master of discernment. When asked, "Who are you? What do you say for yourself?" he responded with great clarity and authenticity about who he was and who he was not. He knew he was not the light, but his role was to give testimony to the light. He was not the Messiah, but through his ministry of baptism, he felt called to help prepare and alert others that Jesus was on his way, just over the horizon, the one whose sandal straps John was not worthy to untie. His ministry of baptism was an act of hope, witness, and preparation, helping to make straight or clear the path for God's action and presence in our world. We too, if we are to live with authenticity, must discern carefully and answer the question, who am I? Reverend Nadia Boltz-Weber recently wrote a heartfelt essay about the urgent need for prayerful discernment at this particular moment in our collective lives. She says that with all that is coming at us these days, the ongoing global pandemic, the political division among us, distance and strife within our families, climate change, war, hunger, racism, and the list goes on, we are tempted to throw our hands up in the air in despair and just give up all our efforts to make a difference. But instead, she recommends spending time with 3 guiding questions. 1, what is mine to do and what is not mine to do? What is mine to say and what is not mine to say? And perhaps the hardest one, what is mine to care about and what is not mine to care about? Not that all these issues aren't worthy of attention and care, but we as individuals are not designed to meet every need that is brought to our awareness. A little story. A lighthouse keeper who worked on a rocky stretch of coastline received oil once a month to keep his light burning bright. Not being far from the village, he had frequent guests. One night, a woman needed oil to keep her family warm. Another night, a father needed oil for his lamp. Then another needed oil to lubricate a wheel. All the requests seemed legitimate, so the lighthouse keeper tried to meet them all. Towards the end of the month, however, he ran out of oil and his lighthouse went dark, causing several ships to crash on the coastline. How does this story land with us? Does it comfort or confuse us? It always reminds me of the perplexing parable that Jesus told about the 10 bridesmaids. It makes me wonder what the oil represents. Maybe the oil is something like exercise or practicing the piano or something we simply can't give to someone else. It also makes me wonder, how are we called to let our light shine, and can we make someone else's light shine? Maybe it's a parable about good discernment, being aware of our calling, of what we need to do and not do, and say and not say, what is ours to care for and what's not ours to care for, at least for this time being. Perhaps it's designed to underscore the importance of the kind of humility that John practiced in knowing who he was and who he was not, telling us that when we know deep within that our truest identity is found in our belovedness and belonging to God, then all of our false notions of self, those that are inflated or deflated, fall away. Maybe this story helps us realize that alone as individuals, we are not the Messiah, but that the oil represents our specific and perhaps humble, but nonetheless essential contribution to the body of Christ to which we belong. But like John the Baptist, though we are all part of this divine oneness in service to a much larger mission of love and transformation, it's really hard to feel part of a collective right now. we feel very much alone in the wilderness. Many days I feel like an ember that has been flung out of the fire and is losing its light and heat because I'm so far from the steady fire and fuel that community provides. I worry about my kids and their diminished experience of the warmth and safety that the togetherness of family, community, and church provides during their most formative years. But when I pray about all that has happened in the last few years, what brings me hope are Jesus' many stories of seeds and the image of the mature dandelion that Laura Rangos used so often on the website and publications back at St. John Fisher. The strong winds of change and uncertainty have spread all of our little dandelion seeds adrift. We're all kind of in this liminal, sometimes uncomfortable space, not where we're going and not where we've been. But there's a lot of life being carried. The life, light, and love of God is in each and every one of those seeds and is also in the current of the wind, taking all of our little seeds of life to where it is needed most. Maybe we take hope in the idea that sometimes the darkness doesn't mean that we're buried, but that we have been planted.